All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Sitting in this big yellow chair, I feel like welcome to Story Hour with Pete Thorn. Let me tell you a story. I was in Poland yesterday. I'm just making some tea here. My tea bag just fell in my cup. Supposed to be kind of a good design, but it's not really. Who cares? I'll just leave it in there. My grandmother always used to do that. Leave the tea bag in the cup. Not really supposed to do that, but whatever. What do we got here? Boogeyman's in the house, and Earl's here, and Trolls. What's up? It's going to be probably a light audience once again today because it's just the nature of being inconsistent with the time. I think it's like if you don't show up at the usual time on Sundays, this is what happens, and I respect that, and I understand it. But there's going to be a few of you here, I hope. This is the kind of going live at the usual time, really. This is about when I do it in LA usually. So maybe some folks will show up. We'll see after a little while. There's already 57 of you online. It's nice to see you all. Some nice comments here. I really love seeing the camaraderie and trading solos with Joe and Steve. Wasn't expecting them to let you rip so often. Yeah, I get a couple or a few throughout the night, and it's really fun, man. I love just backing them up, man. I mean, just playing and listening to them because when you can just play and listen, you learn things. So I'm loving that aspect of it. It's not like I'm like, yeah, I really enjoy the job of the gig of backing them up on the parts and some of the rhythm parts, just forgetting solos and stuff like that. Rhythm parts are just downright challenging, and they've been a great stud. My hand is actually stretched quite, like I can do wider voicings than I could a few months ago. You have to really, some of these chord voicings are stretching across 6 frets and stuff like that, and you really have to do that, as well as the 7th string and all the challenges. Have been really great for my playing. When you play a song, like if you watch the Oslo performance of the song "Little Pretty" by Steve, it's his song. There's a really good video up that doesn't have a heck of a lot of views or anything like that, but it's nice sound and from a good perspective in the audience, where the fellow's phone was obviously able to capture the sound. And I'm just really loving the way our sound guys got my guitar and the PA. It's just kind of supportive, and it's right in the right place. I feel like I don't always feel that way, but I feel like he's just really got it in a nice spot. And you can hear the interplay between Steve's part and my part in the song "Little Pretty," and it's so satisfying to dig into that part because I'm really backing him up. It's a very dynamic song and harmonically kind of challenging, and then after you listen to it a few times, it really grows on you and starts to become very hooky. But it's so, like, in just Steve fashion, it's so well thought out, and every note is really there for a reason, and you can hear the interplay between the two guitars, because we're sort of like, especially in the last verse, he's really soloing single note style, and I'm kind of, this is what he did on the record. There's a thing going on underneath that's so beautifully thought out with it's sort of everything's doubled, really, where a lot of the little melodies and things like that, I'm playing an octave down from him at that point. And when you nail it and you really get into it and make it groovy, God, it's satisfying. It's so satisfying to do. So it's really fun. And then, with Joe's music, I love backing him up on songs that I grew up listening to, like Surfing with the Alien and Satch Boogie, and just playing those. It's straight up rock rhythm, but it's relentless, and you have to be like, really, your eighth notes have to be right there. So I'm really enjoying it. So, anyways, I appreciate it, and I'm having so much fun with them. The vibe on stage is great. It's got this just it's surreal, for me, because it's so natural, and then at the same time, I'm not forgetting that these are two heroes of mine. So really a good time for me. So what a great time, and I feel like for music it is right now. Anybody watch the Ozzy show yesterday? Black Sabbath back to the beginning show, and then also the Oasis show the other night, and then also last night in Cardiff. And then there was the big Scorpion show going on too. There's all this stuff going on right now with music where I just feel like people are soaking it up and really into going to shows and live music. And in a time where there's just all this talk of AI and this and that and the other thing, it's like people are just you, that shit has nothing to do with 80,000 people in a stadium in Cardiff watching Oasis singing every word, and they're just a band up there playing with nothing, and they sound great. I haven't watched as much of the Sabbath show from yesterday, but I've seen some, and I feel like it's really, just this great celebration of Ozzy's life, obviously, and career and Sabbath. Really cool. I don't know. What do some of you think? What did anybody out there see some of the performances? Lauren says, wasn't expecting you to start at the normal time. Yeah, I was able to do it this week because I actually have a day off today, so it's really nice to have a little time where I can do it at the usual time. And let's take a look right now at the beginning of the show and just see what's happening next week. I'm just curious, like where I'll be next Sunday. So I'll be playing a show next Sunday, and then I'll have a day off the following day. I'll be in Italy next week playing. Wow, so much is going to happen in the next week. A lot of Germany, and then I end up in one in Switzerland, and then I end up looks like in Italy, and I'll have a day off Monday. So I might do next week's on the Monday. Yeah, and then we're doing some festivals, jazz festival, blues festival in Italy. That's really fun. Wow, the back end of this tour gets really interesting as far as like Italy, Switzerland, some fun festivals, and then we kind of end up, I think, in Sofia. Like isn't that Bulgaria and Romania, Istanbul, and Athens, and just going some very, very interesting places. But a lot of places I've never been. Everywhere we've been so far has been interesting, but I've been a lot of the places. So we're about to get into some stuff here that I've never seen, and that's going to be always interesting for a touring musician. Hit some spots you haven't been. There's Joe. What's up, man? Thanks for doing the Sunday Live. Happy to be here. You and the band are sounding so badass. Thank you. I love the way it's sounding, and I'm just really stoked with when I see the videos that popped up on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. So I think it's a good vibe. It's really good vibes. The fans are, man. We played in Poland last night in Warsaw, and that was just brilliant fans, brilliant audience, small arena kind of gig. I'm going to guess that there was maybe 4,000 people, something like that. And it was fantastic. The crowds in Eastern Europe are wonderful. So good to see Jake E. Lee back on the show yesterday. Yeah, I watched him with Lizzie, and he sounded great, man. I thought, really cool, and he looked great. He looks like he's doing good, which is terrific to see after what he's been through over the last while. How long are your shows? Anywhere from an hour and 45 to a couple hours, generally speaking. Yeah. Yeah, still on a high, says Music Like Life with Arthur, and a low from watching Ozzy perform for the last time yesterday, watching Jake come out and crush it. Yeah, he sounded really great, I thought. Yeah. Matt says Little Pretty is my favorite song from that album. It's an incredible song, really, if you haven't heard it from in Violet. A really amazing track. Just Steve, continues to expand and get interesting, more interesting. He's always been interesting, but like those, we've talked a little bit about his time during, it was kind of during pandemic times and stuff, and then coming out of that and stuff, and how he made use of the time. Very interesting music that he was doing, and just and that's one of that track is incredible. I mean, I love playing it. I love it. Initially, it's slightly terrifying for any guitar player, I think, just because it's it needs to sound very comfortable and smooth, and also you have to play it with a lot of precision, and there's a lot of arpeggios that are extremely strange, that are just but the way they all tie together is so musical. That if you just take any individual chord, it can sound odd, and then like the way they flow into one another is where the big picture is. It's magic, man. It's musical magic. Really, really cool. Are you going to extend the tour? Well, nothing has. We'll see. We'll see. We will see. God, that's good tea. That's a nice cup of tea. Don't normally have tea, but it's a little late for coffee right now. It's what is it? Almost 9 p.m. here. Yeah, it's 9:02 p.m. Can't have coffee at 9:02 p.m. I mean, some people do, but I tend to not. I tend to try and quit by no later than like if I'm gonna have a late one, it's 5 o'clock or something. But yeah, yeah. So all right. What else? All of the huge shows are everywhere except America. Yeah, a lot going on in Europe right now. It's kind of festival season over here. I mean, June, July, August. I guess it is in the States too in some ways, but yeah, they've chosen to do a lot of these. I mean, Sabbath obviously from Birmingham. Oasis will be in the States in the fall. I can't see it being quite what it is in England, in America, as far as the audiences go and stuff, because they're just huge in the UK. So it's like, their biggest band in the UK at the time, absolutely bar none, no question, they were the biggest. So how it translates to the United States, we'll see, and just the crowds singing along and stuff. But because it's really unbelievable to see everybody singing and hearing everybody singing every word like this giant community thing of and the brothers and the feud and I don't know, man. I think there's something to it, like even down on there's a lot of the world's really crazy right now, a lot of shit talk going on all over the place, and everybody, and it's interesting how that comes down to the family level with two brothers. I think I've thought a lot about this, like the dynamic between the two of them, the acrimony and 16 years of split and no contact and stuff, and now to see them walk on stage arm in arm, and then to even if it's brief, a hug and like we did it, kind of thing, and is like sort of like and the whole crowd going bonkers, 80,000 people. There's something bigger than music about it, which is sort of Oasis. It's bigger than that. A lot of people that don't understand Oasis, I think, "Oh, whatever, they're just they're crappy songs, or they're not, they're simple. They're like whatever, they're whatever, they're whatever." But the thing about Oasis was they represented a movement that was sort of almost the antithesis with while having some similarities to grunge. There was a grunge movement going on in the United States, and then there's this whole Manchester thing and Oasis and Blur and stuff going on in the UK. And it was this movement of working class people that were disgruntled to some degree, and maybe felt like there was no, not a lot of future. It's difficult to get get ahead, and like all that kind of stuff, right? With the whole movement in Manchester. But yet there was this relentless sort of like, and very British kind of like, like not like flowery positive, but more like screw that, we're gonna live forever, we're gonna be like this, like the idea, the audacity that somebody from because England's also so class based and everything like that, and some sort of regular kids or whatever from Manchester that without a hell of a lot of opportunity could take it all the way to the wall with being the biggest band, and and just with this kind of snotty attitude and stuff, and being it's very English and very there's a punk thing about it, and then just also sort of a very audacious, like maybe it had never been quite done before that movement, and also this sort of relentless, like when you see that, what's the song Acoustic or whatever, where you see Noel standing up there and singing about needing one another and believing in one another, and and the two brothers and everything. It's all very like bigger than the music, I think. It's simple concepts made for a stadium that people can sing along, and maybe people need that right now, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's pretty cool. I guess I just, I watched it and I'm feeling it and then I'm thinking about it and trying to put it into words, like what's happening with it all, in this time of strife. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You look like a badass mofo up on that stage. What's your favorite 412 you ever played? Thanks, man. Uh, Favorite new maker 412 basket weave Marshall cabs. um, well, uh, I've got a blockhead cab that I love. That's really, really good. It's basically a straight up recreation of a '68. I don't think they're around anymore. It's got old blackbacks in it, and I got it. From a guy named Gene at Ultrasound in New York City, which was this great rehearsal studio that used to have just this massive amp collection, everything from train wrecks to vintage stuff. And Gene was really, really good to me, and he got me this blockhead cab kind of as a gift, and it was really too kind. But it was loaded with, I think, Heritage greenbacks when I got it, and I bought an old set of blackbacks from the late '70s and loaded them in there. So that's what's in there now. That's the cab that's actually in my signature two notes collection, Dyne IR collection. So you can hear it in there if you have that. But anyway, that's a great cab. As far as other builders that are doing them now, I'm not really sure, because once I got that, and then I have an old late '70s cab, I stopped looking. So, but the main cabs I use out here on the road are Sir cabs. And it's a Sir 412 with greenbacks in the top, V30s in the bottom. I'm miking the greenbacks. I think they sound great. So very happy. Yeah, really, really good. Uh, Favorite 412 I played. I mean, I've played some good old ones that are like, I remember Line 6 has this one, I brought it up before, that has the mid 60s, very early low watt greenbacks, like maybe they're 20 watts max kind of. And they're very careful with that cab because it's from 65 or something. That's one of the absolute earliest Marshall 412s. And they bought this thing, and man, does that cabinet sound sweet. They let me play it. I've got to use master volume when I play through it and keep it kind of on the low side because they don't want those speakers to get damaged. And they're just really pretty. And I understand, very protective about it. But when I played my PT100 through it, which I played through a lot of different cabinets, I was like, man, that sounds sweet. Like, just really, really good. So that cab is one that sticks in my mind. Yeah. Pedro says, I was at the concert yesterday. Amazing show. Great to see you live. Thanks, man. It was really fun yesterday. I felt like yesterday was a really, really, really good gig. Although I felt like the last, really, I mean, I don't think there's been a stinker or anything like that, or any kind of like, it's just been consistently fun, kind of as long back as I can remember. Early on, there was like some mishaps or things like that. But other than that, it's been quite consistent. And yesterday was really fun. And I stood up there with Joe afterwards, and we're doing the bow and stuff. And he goes, "Man, this crowd." He goes, "This is unbelievable, right? Like, look at this crowd." They were, pulling. It was just fantastic. It was like just going nuts, all the way to the back, the floor, and then it was quite a few people for, it was like a nice size, a little arena situation, and they were very happy, Joe and Steve, and it was just really great. So. Favorite 20-watt Friedman head. Dave makes some great ones, man. I mean, the Pink Taco 2 is fantastic. I think a good little amp. The Jakey Lee is really great. Uh, the little Jakey Lee head. It gets you it covers a lot of territory. You've sort of got a cleanish channel, and then you've got the boost thing channel, and that's probably one of the most versatile in the small ones that he makes, I would say. So I would look at that one, the Jake head. JEL20. As far as just, you can get covers a lot of ground. The Pink Taco is really great. It's just more aggressive sounding overall. Maybe not going to do the clean thing as, so if you're gigging and stuff, you need a little variety. I would say that. So that the Jake one's probably the totally enjoying my Friedman Jose amp I got a week ago. It's a must-have amp, no one-trick pony. Yeah, I mean, it'll do good plexi too, right? You just disengage the gain boost and all that, and really, really good amplifier for sure. Yeah. What's happening in Italy? There's a volcano. Oh man, be very careful in Italy. Oh, volcano and earthquake. Well, yeah, used to the volcanoes in Japan and used to the earthquakes in Japan as well as LA. So that's just the price you pay for living on planet Earth. Yeah. The Lazy Susan stage, Lazy Susan, I like that. Changeover is interesting. That was at the Sabbath show, big rotating stage. That's been done for a long time. I'm seeing a lot of posts about it, people saying, wow, that's amazing. But man, I remember doing festivals. I remember my rig getting messed up with one of those stages rotating back, and it was a some sort of festival. I remember John Mayer on the bill. He was opening for us. He was not well known yet. It was 2001, the Fight for Fighting and a bunch of bands. It was a not karaoke, maybe case, some Los Angeles radio station at the time. Their festival show was at the old Verizon Wireless Amphitheater in Irvine. I remember we had a rotating stage. So my stuff was set up on the rotating thing, and it worked fine when it was not rotated, and we rotated around, and all of a sudden my whole rig wouldn't work, and I was like, what's happening? And something happened in the rotation, a cable, something broke, something, and I ended up having to just plug right into the amp and do a half-hour set like that, and I was pissed off, and so I probably played better. The reality, dry and just mad, and I ended up going, I think I'm playing pretty good right now because I'm pissed off. Had no delay or anything, but the rotating stage. Got to be careful for those, stretching your cables, I guess. Lady Gaga show that is in Rio that is on YouTube is amazing. That happened a little while ago, right? Most elaborate production I've seen. It's like Gothic opera, 2.5 million people. Yeah, that's so crazy. That's wild. Let's see here. Trying to light up the super chat, but I can't get it to work. So I'm gonna gonna just do it like this. There we go. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the live. How do I decide if I should get vintage or high-end guitar? That's whatever speaks to you, man. I mean, if you try a vintage guitar, occasionally, you might play a vintage guitar and you're just like, oh, this is very special. And I guess that same thing can happen with a boutique kind of guitar. Um, it doesn't matter kind of when it was made. There's something about vintage guitars where you might pick it up and play it unplugged and go, oh, it's really resonant and that's badass. And then, you plug it in, it just keeps getting better. And then the look and it kind of, it just does something to you, where you're just, you know what I'm saying? Where you're like, oh, and you start trying to think about how to afford it, The last one that happened to me with was a 1960 Les Paul, the one that had previously been owned by Eric Johnson. And it was in Japan. There's a video of me playing it years ago on my Instagram. It was late 2023, I think, that I played it. And I played it through a modded Marshall in Tokyo, and it just was a great guitar. And I started trying to contemplate about how I could raise enough money to buy this guitar, which was, it had a headstock repair and a couple other things done to it. So it wasn't pristine. It was about 138,000 US dollars. And I was like trying to figure it out. I can't afford that. That's too rich for my blood. But I was thinking about it. And that was the last time that happened. So, when you pick up an instrument and it speaks to you, I think is the that's the angle. So Steven says, finally caught you live. First time in a few weeks. Nice to see you here. Yeah, I'll try and do it as much as I can at the regular time. It's about another month that I'm on tour, and then I'll be back in LA and doing things at a similar time as usual. So yeah, it's always goosebumps when the crowd sings along with Don't Look Back in Anger. Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah, boy, do they ever sing along to that. Does Steve or Joe ever ask your advice on gear or setups? Um, Joe, when he first, before we ever talked about me doing this, maybe a year before, he contacted me just via DM and said, hey, what do you think about Les Paul Customs? And kind of was like picking my brain because I think he was looking for one and asking my opinion on them tonally and playability and everything versus, regular Les Paul standards. And I guess he was, looking for one that interested what the ebony board. And so that was interesting. Steve, he's asked me a couple things. I mean, Steve he's really kind. We've talked a little bit about wireless. he's using a cable on this tour because I think he likes the sound that he's getting out of a cable, and you know, he's using quite a long cable. I would say it's 30 feet, so he's definitely getting some smooth little bit of, even the best cables with low capacitance will have a little bit of high end roll off for sure at 30 feet. So he's getting a certain sound out of it. So we've talked a little bit about wireless, but he's just very kind about, like, the other day I was playing my tone for, which I put a lot of time into, the tone for Always With Me, Always With You, I'm playing, you know, the arpeggiated clean part, and he stuck his head in front of my amps and he looked up at me and he says, "That sounds so good," you know, and I was just like, oh man, like, what do you even say, you know? It's just, he's really, his guitar sounds, man. If you listen to his tone, one of my favorite sounds that he plays is the sound at the top of Little Pretty, actually, where he's playing us. It's like a Schofield model, I think, Ibanez, which is different for him, you know, semi hollow, and it's in the middle position on the pickups. And he has this lovely sound that he plays with delay and some mod going on and stuff. And when he plays the intro, when he gets into the body of the tune, he switches the bridge pickup, goes to a dirty sound. That sounds cool too. But the intro sound is really great. It's just this swimmy, cool, ambient. You can hear him play it on YouTube. You know, the mellow kind of free time intro to the song. So I love that. And I think a lot of fun, mutual sort of admiration going on. You know, that feels really good out here. That's just, you know, and to get that from your heroes is fantastic. And then I'm always, you know, blown away with them too, and commenting on things and stuff, because of course you have to, because it's amazing what's going down and you're just watching it constantly. Steve did an amazing thing last night. We played Tender Surrender, and he's always got his, like, a kind of a part where the band comes down and falls out towards the end, and then he does some really interesting stuff, and it's never the same twice. And he just improvs for a little while, and then we come back in and for the big, you know, end finale. But he was playing last night, and then he quoted the talking guitar from the top of Yankee Rose, and I couldn't control myself. I started laughing. I'm like, yes. You know, he just went into it. He started playing the the talking thing, which is so funny. And then he wound back into Tender Surrender, and we finished. And I was like, God, that was hilarious. It was so cool. So things like that happen, and it's always magic. You know, really fun. All right. All right. What else? What else are you guys talking about here? I think I got another um chat that I got to get to. Oh, Blix, you were there. The fantastic gig in Oslo. Oslo was really a good one, I think. There's a lot of good video up from that show. You had the greatest time. That's awesome. I'm so glad you had fun. And that's killer. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to see you. But Oslo was a good time. Really, really a nice show. Just been a lot of really fun ones, man. There's a real great feeling of, I don't know, I guess it's just satisfaction and happiness at the end of these gigs. That, and definitely Oslo, I was feeling that big time. Yeah, Arthur says, "You sound so damn good." Thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, those guys are just playing their butts off on a nightly basis. Yeah, yeah. Mark says, "I never got into that band Oasis." A lot of people didn't. I mean, in America, and especially, you know, but um, yeah, yeah. Arthur says he never got into Oasis either. You know, they were young and they were like, but their attitude was sort of part of they're young, you know, and this is part of the, like, there was almost like a punk rock, like, snotty, but imagine being these, like, whatever kids, you know, middle class kids from Manchester without much of a way out, and then you're just like, if you, like, act as if until, like, we're the greatest thing in the world, you know, then you sort of become the greatest thing in the world sometimes. Greatest, like, whatever that means. And they really did, you know, they became the biggest band to come out of there. And I think it was more a society, like, almost like, you have to, I don't know if you've been to England much or spent any time over there, but you kind of got to go there and realize how, you know, the classes and how difficult it can seem for some people to imagine breaking out of whatever cycle they're in, or the level that they can, the maximum that they can reach, right? And they just sort of said, screw that, like we're just gonna, and they were funny about it, kind of in the way that the Beatles, although they were crasser and stuff, but the way the Beatles sort of took the piss because they were just working class kids too, right? um Really, like, not a lot of money going on there, I don't think. And the way that they kind of took over the world, and then they would just make jokes about the Queen, whatever, the rest of you just rattle your jewelry and all that. And the Jesus Christ comment, we're bigger than Jesus Christ, or like those kinds of things. Oasis sort of just appropriated that into the, and updated it for the 90s was all it was. There was a lot of borrowing going on there. Yeah, but yeah, Oasis is the song you're describing. Yeah. Yeah. So now to see them with older, and with sort of a lot more gratitude, and realize that they're getting older, and that they've got like health conditions and things that happen to older people. And Liam's talked about having he now wakes up at 4 a.m. and goes jogging, and he's got a thyroid condition, which I have too, actually. Things like that. And to take care of himself, and also just the big break from his brother, and maybe realizing that they're more powerful together, obviously, as you look what's happening as a team. And now they've bridged that gap, and they're doing it. And so yeah, when Noel stands up there and says, that basically he's singing about needing one another, believing in one another. And yeah, it's cool. It's just like, because they're family too, right? You see their mom talk. Their mom still lives in a little house in Manchester, evidently, and she just is a kind of a tough ass or whatever. And I put a comment on one of Liam's posts the other day saying, I think the thing that makes me the happiest is maybe your mom gets to spend Christmas with you both this year after 15 years. That's nice, right? So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a real, I just like the down to earth like beyond, whatever, like I don't like the chords they play or the whatever, all that stuff. There's a bigger story going on, and I like the bigger story. What's the story? Morning Glory. That's right. Sorry, I had to. Are you using monitor wedges or in-ears? I'm using in-ears. Yeah, we're all in-ears. And it was a bit of a, to get it going and make it work. Now it's working good. So yeah, everything's cool. So yeah, did you see the Back to Birmingham? I did. Back to the beginning. I did some of it. I've watched as much as I've found on YouTube. Probably like a lot of you, what I've seen on YouTube. I didn't have a streamer, and I had to play a gig. We were playing at the same time it was going on. So I was busy, but yeah. Steve says Steven Tyler's voice just won't quit. Yeah, Steven was great. I thought Lizzie was great. I thought Derek from Disturbed was great, and I thought Sammy Hagar sounded really good singing "Flying High Again" and Rock Candy and stuff. I thought it was just a nice rock celebration. So yeah. What else have we got here? Let's see. Looking through the chat. Who's that? Eston, what's up? Well, home coffee. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I appreciate it. I do. Thanks for the super chat. Too kind. Best thing so far playing with Steve and Joe. Somebody already mentioned the camaraderie, and I think that is the fun part. Hanging with your, heroes, and discovering that they're lovely people, and tell great jokes, and also have great insight and serious discussions and things, and just getting comfortable with that has been magic. So that's the best part. From a playing perspective, just locking in. Like Kenny was saying the other day, what great time everybody has in the band, and I love the just locking in to grooves and stuff. It's really entertaining because I've got everybody in my ears quite present. So we do We do a nice mashup of the song Ice Nine and Steve's song The Crying Machine. So Joe's song and Steve's song. And there's a lot of fun rhythm in that for me, from heavy eighth note rhythmic stuff to funky stuff to ambient stuff to, 2 different solos I get to take and stuff. So it's just this great cross section of stuff, and locking in on the groove on that, because it feels really good. If you watch any of the videos live, you'll see the just the feel is really fun. So, and then also just I guess I brought it up already at the beginning of the stream, but you know, expanding a little bit my playing, and it's some of these it was I went to school, learning the tunes, and then it's been really good for my left hand and my right hand arpeggiation and 7 string and just playing accurately and really listening. I close my eyes a lot. There's a key thing that I've been doing lately a lot that I can recommend to any of you out there, which is close your eyes when you're playing live. If you can, you don't need to look at the deck. Just close your eyes and zone into the music, because instantly you're alone with the sound. I mean, it's a live band. It's playing. It's going down in real time, but you're one with it in a way that you can't be as soon as your eyes go open. There's people there and there's distractions. You can close your eyes and lay into a part. You can really phrase, and something happens that I just tune in more to the music instantly by turning off my visual sense, which is pretty turned off as it is, just right out of the gate. But you know what I mean. So almost makes me like weird. You can't say you envy somebody that doesn't have sight, but like a Jeff Healey that never knew it, just being so tuned into the sound and the physical is very interesting to me. Like how, because he was amazing, right? And to not know anything other than that, tune so into the notes when you can't see. This is pretty cool. Like, because I notice it right away. If I try to do it more and more, is play without my eyes open. It's interesting. Maybe I came to that late. Maybe some of you out there already do that or have for a long time. But for me, it's only the last 3 or 4 years that I've been really kind of going, oh, I can do this thing, and I think my playing sounds better when I do. Like, that's just kind of interesting, I think. Yeah. My niece Hurt says, I have never had an instrument speak to me. I'll tell you about, like, for instance, my 335, which kind of has its own fan base. I feel like my old 63 335. That guitar, I remember going into, this is just an example of what I'm talking about. When an instrument, oh, and now I need that. I got to figure that out. There used to be a store called Vintage Gear in Hollywood that was a sister store to Voltage Vintage Guitars. Vintage Gear sold sort of more offbeat stuff, a little more player grade stuff, pedals. They also had keyboards and stuff, and then other kind of stuff like ukuleles and stuff like that. But it was still used gear, much like Voltage. Voltage was just high-end vintage. So anyway, this 335 was in there, and it was a total player grade with a headstock repair. And somebody had monkeyed with the wiring a little bit and stuff like that in it. But it was cherry red, block inlays, 1963, cool as hell looking. So I'm in there one day. A great guitar player named Dave Kalish was in there, and he was playing a 65 Strat. And he's an amazing player. And he was playing, just fiddling around on the Strat while we were all talking. And then he's like, let me see that 335. And he plugged it in. He hit one note, and it just started to scream. With the same amp settings, and then he played some cool lick, and he's like, and then we forgot all about the Strat. That's what he said. And I was like, yeah, okay, tell me about that guitar. And it was really inexpensive for what it was. I felt like a good deal, and I ended up with it. But it was from that one note, just one note. And that's what I mean when an instrument speaks to you. It literally spoke. Okay. Billy Sheehan was the bassist on Steve Vai's tour that I saw. For some reason, I said Kenny Wayne Shepherd. My name says, yeah, I don't think Kenny Wayne Shepherd ever played bass with anybody. But yeah, Billy and him, they've definitely done plenty of stuff together. Is Steve Vai using his signature Synergy module? Yes, he is. I think he uses that along with some Bassman modules for different sounds. and fret power amps, and the X-Fix for effects, as well as a few pedals on the board. Signature Ibanez pedal that's kind of got a distortion and a drive in it, and then he's got a whammy and a wah on the ground, phase 90 maybe, I think. Les Paul Customs seem overpriced to me. So many standards and custom shop standards out there. Orville and some of the Bernies are great, but you have to, if you have to have a Gibson, well, I mean, you can get a USA one that's not probably too crazy expensive, you know? Just a standard kind of line one, that's what I have. That's my custom from 2000. Or if you got one from like same era as mine, which has been a great guitar, it's a 2000. Probably not that much money. Do you have your own guitar tech, or is one assigned to you? Yeah, I do have. Well, it's a little bit of both. He was here, when I joined up with these folks. They said, "This is Mike, and he'll be your tech," and I said, "Great," and he ended up being amazing. So he's, Joe has really great people surrounding him, and he's worked with him for a while. He's very good. I mean, his tuning is like just impeccable, and the 7-string is a bit of a bear to tune. So he's very good at it. So anyways, he's been wonderful, and he sets my amp up perfectly every day, and my pedal board, and everything's exactly the same every day. So he's very on it. And he also does Marco, so it's kind of our side of the stage. He's Joe and Steve each have a tech individually, and then and Kenny has tech, and then Marco and I share Michael, and it works out great. So yeah. Are you past the pinch me point on this tour? That happens a little bit every night, man. I mean, I'm just so thankful. I don't. Maybe it's not even like, it's still surreal and super fun, and then also just surreal, and knocks me out every now and then, where I'm just like, do you realize what's happening right now? It's about as full circle as it gets for a kid from Canada, so there's been a lot of humidity in Europe, caused issues with setups. Everything's been good, man. We haven't even really had a hot show, to be honest. But even when we went on stage at Hellfest in France, which wasn't a super late set, it was about 7:30 or something like that, and we were thinking, oh, it's going to be hot up there. It really wasn't. It was like fine. It was probably 76 degrees or something, and completely manageable, from my perspective. I've played some hot shows, more, like some of the indoor shows have been hot, actually, hot, sweaty shows, a couple of them. But I've experienced a lot of hot summer, humid, I remember the Lincoln Park tour we did with Chris Cornell. And that was like, a month on the East Coast of just sheer humidity. And we would go on stage right as the sun was going down. And it was like, let's go get sweaty for 40 minutes. Here we go. Yeah. What else we got here? Just wondering, your renting amps. No, I have stuff here. So yeah, not renting. Remember to give Pete a like for the YouTube algorithm. Yes, please give me the thumbs up. Let's keep this going. It's all my fault, but yeah, the views have been declining a bit, but I know it's the inconsistency of me not being here all the time at the same time. So have you watched a bunch of these shows? And I've watched a bunch of these shows, and you all seem to be having a great time playing together as a band. Huge smiles. Hope you guys stay together. Man, I'm having a blast. I hope I really hope, I mean, you never know, but I really hope it's to continue. We will see, Yeah. Let's see here. He has a European rig that stayed there since he's been doing classic rock show. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got stuff over here. So that's right. Makes it easier as far as shipping things, that's for sure. Are you looking forward to Spinal Tap 2? 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Is it September that is coming out? That's awesome. Definitely going to that. I'm having an Orion amp being made for my heavy tones, pair them up with my Marshalls. No. Sorry, I don't have any experience there. Sorry. Let's see here. Agree. Steven Tyler's vocals were amazing. Not even mentioning his age. Young blood. Better get ready for the ride. He did phenomenal. And has now broken into the world. I didn't see him. I got to watch that. Thanks for reminding me because I heard it was really good. I'm gonna check that out. I heard Jake's guitar tech got fired for not tuning his guitars. I didn't know anything about that. Guns N' Roses didn't sound bad, says Joe. I liked it, and Axel was struggling a little. Axel, I mean, he takes a lot of hell, a lot of shit, a lot of comments, a lot of whatever. Gets a lot of crap these days for the way he's sounding. And, it's just like, a lot of them I hear and I'm like, well, no, he doesn't sound like he did maybe even in 2016. I'm just going to get a little more water for this tea. But who sounds the way that they did when they were 20 or whatever, right? It's like that's not really a thing. So it's like just heating up the kettle here. There's crazy lights in here. Looks like I'm on a stage. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, just about Axel. It's like we're all getting older, man. I mean, look at me right now. I look old as hell in this light. And it is what it is, man. It's just like if you don't want to go, don't go. If you expect him to sound like he did when he was 20, just like Brian Johnson. If you don't, if you need him to sound like he did in 1982, well, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But I just think people are just sort of unrealistic and kind of cruel with their. Oh, there's no water in there. With their expectations. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, it seems to me like people should cut these guys a little more slack. Like just not be. Well, I'm not gonna worry about that because I have to fill up, and that's too much to do while I'm trying to talk and answer questions. I'm not a multitasker. Never have been. Never will be. I'm okay with that. I think that one of the voices that gets overlooked in rock best is Paul Rogers. Yeah, Paul's amazing. He's great. I got to do that one gig with him a couple of years ago, and that was surreal and fun. I got to play Can't Get Enough and All Right Now, and he sounded amazing. He killed it all. I mean, he's still great, man. And he's had some health struggles as of late and stuff over the years, and he come out the other end. He's doing great. So Eli says in-ears, but you're still using amps. Yeah. Everybody is on ears in this organization and using loud amps. And it's actually working out pretty good. I'm quite comfortable on them now. I mean, do I love them? No, but I would actually have a hard time maybe at this point playing the set without them because now I've played it 16 times with in-ears and 16 gigs or whatever, not to mention the rehearsals. And I've grown so accustomed to the way that the set sounds with the in-ears that now they feel like the way that I know the music, so it is what it is. And there's advantages to them, we've played a lot of, I'll give you the one example of Hellfest, which is, festival stage. You don't know what it's going to sound like. Get up there, and not accustomed to the sound of a venue or whatever. You walk out and it sounds basically really similar, because it's the same mix from last night. There's something to that, that's the main advantage to in-ears is the consistency in the sound. The disadvantage to in-ears can also be, to me, the consistency in the sound. If you want less hi-hat or more hi-hat on something, you either walk towards it or walk away from it if you're on a stage where it's conducive to that and you've got monitors, you're not using in-ears. But with in-ears, you just really, for me, I just really have to make sure that I've got the mix dialed on every song, that it's just right. And otherwise I get too in my own head, and but as long as it's right, pretty cool. I mean, the consistency can be a good thing when going from a festival with 70,000 people to a club or a theater with 2,000 people or whatever. So speaking of really, speaking of JEL's performance really looked like it sounded like his guitar was maybe tuned to E when he was expecting E flat. Really? I didn't see that. Is that was there like a half step out tuning thing, or was it just that it was like felt heavier or something? Not really sure, you know? Uh, I tell you what, if I was going to do a one-off, oh, Jake's guitar were way out of tune, so were Iami's. Oh, really? Is that right? I didn't even notice that. I'll have to listen more carefully and not on an iPhone then and watch, on my computer or something. Because I was noisy and I'm trying to listen after the show and busy in the dressing room and stuff like that. And I was trying to listen to stuff. Yeah. Missed the start of the stream. Speak back in the States. No, I'm in mid tour right now. We're about halfway right now. I could tell Jake was pissed. That's too bad. I mean, that seems like a major oversight, obviously, on a show of that level and of that magnitude. And yeah, I mean, just I don't know how shit like that happens, man. It's crazy. I've been listening to the band on YouTube. Can really hear your playing, and it really keeps a solid bass to the sound and blends very well. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I'm going for, just to lay that nice bed down. What pedal gets me closest to an AC30 in front of a Landau Hot Rod Deluxe? The Boss Combo Drive is I've used it to pretty good effect, man. And I think that's kind of the best one for me that I've tried. That'll kind of, transform the front end of the amp into something akin to an AC30. If you want to kind of go a little further with it, you could go for the Synergy Dr. Z module, for the Synergy with a one rack space chassis, and you could loop it into the effect loop of that amp, and that'll get you even closer because that thing sounds really good for that tone. Dr. Z, can't remember what it's called, the module, but it's got this built-in sort of phase inverter mimicking circuit in it that really helps to sound like the compression of that style of amplifier. So there's two, the cheaper option and the sort of more extensive, like, with one of them, you're basically replacing I don't know if you've seen those, like you can kind of use the preamp of the Synergy and switch that with the front end of your Hot Rod Deluxe and take advantage of both those sounds. Kind of neat, I think. Why is the 7-string hard to tune? Well, once the guitar's in tune, it's great. But if you've ever played one with a tremolo, you're adding an extra string into the mix that's very heavy. And so if you alter it, now, once you get 7 strings and you alter the pitch of one of them, so let's say the whole guitar seems ever so slightly flat. Well, you tune up that low string just a few cents, it really pulls the bridge. And then, if you've got a floating tremolo like I do on mine. So I should have prefaced that. It's a little easier if you've got a fixed bridge 7-string for sure, which probably a lot of them are, but mine's got a 7-string Floyd on it. And it's neat. I mean, I love having to use it at the end of songs and stuff. I'm using the tremolo, and it's pretty neat. But definitely, it's an easier go, especially if you don't have maybe you don't have your own guitar tech or something. You're switching that guitar for a few songs. It'd be kind of gnarly not having if I had to do it without a tech, just be difficult, because if it just takes longer to tune with that extra tension of that extra string balancing against the springs. When you look at the people you play with over your career, you're at the top echelon. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I mean, I'm a lucky guy to have gotten to play with a lot of, really fantastic people, and it's not lost on me. I feel very fortunate. So appreciate it. Would suck being on stage and getting bitten by mosquitoes. Wondering how you deal with that. I've never had that happen so much. Festivals, I don't know. When you're on a big stage, it's always kind of a little windy up there, and where you got fans, and I don't know. Never seems like just never really had that happen. Rick Beato just uploaded an Oasis video. Did he? I should watch that. Check that out. When you're doing an outdoor show, what are the precautions that you take if it rains? Just the way the deck is built, the sort of the lid on or whatever over the the stage. Beyond that, you generally keep big tarps around to throw over pedal boards if you get a kind of unexpected rainfall and the wind blowing. Generally speaking, it can be raining as long as it's coming kind of straight down fairly significantly, and it won't get on the stage because just the way they build the overhangs and stuff, the roofs or whatever you want to call them. Um, but if that wind starts blowing, the water starts coming across, you got to have these, big tarps ready to throw over your big pieces of plastic, that kind of thing, to go over the pedal boards. It never seems to make it back by the drums and stuff. If that was happening, the show would probably be stopped. If you get that much chaos going on. Wind and lightning, though, can stop a show. So there's certainly laws about that in the U.S. And if there's lightning coming through, they're gonna call it. And sometimes it'll be. I mean, I've played gigs like remember doing one with Mark Martel, the guy that sings Freddie Mercury so well in his Queen tribute thing. And we were in West Virginia somewhere. It was a pretty good sized amphitheater, like 1,500, 2,000 people, something like that. And I didn't think we were going to get to play. And man, I'd learned like 24 Queen songs for this gig. And then we got there and it was like, did a long ass sound check in the sun. And then all these clouds moved in, thunder moved in. They had to postpone. Rain's coming down. They had to kick everybody out of the amphitheater. They all went to the parking lot. And I was like, I don't think this gig's going to happen. And then 15, 20 minutes after our scheduled start time, clouds break and let the whole crowd back in. And we actually ended up playing almost the whole show. I didn't throw out a couple tunes, I think. But other than that, so that can happen. That's kind of the range of, either the show gets postponed or I'm sure you've seen the terrible, stage, when there's wind and high wind and maybe the stage has, screens and stuff, and it gets dangerous when the wind starts blowing and trusses go over and stuff. Very dangerous, very dangerous. So they've got rules for all that. It just depends. So great to see you. CRS Liverpool and Satchby in Manchester. Looks like you guys have always played together. Man, that was just our second show too, Manchester. Maybe third show. Fourth show. Because we went to Glasgow before. But Manchester was fun. Next day, Glenn Hughes in October. What a voice. Oh, he's a legend. He's a legend. Yeah. I definitely notice several bands with out-of-tune guitars. If I was out of tune at that show, I would have stopped, I think, and been like, hold on, and got it straight. I mean, who's to say? Jake's a legend, and he's a friend of mine and stuff. But that would piss me off so much. I think I would have had to just be like, let's get this right, how do you fuck that one up? It's like it's embarrassing, So, my niece heard says, there's some truth to this. Why can the person playing the guitar not tune it? I generally check mine, especially if I don't know the person that's doing it or there's any discrepancy. And I can tell if it's in E or E flat, like right from the gate. So I'll go up and hold it to my ear and just play, an A chord or something, an E, big steely E with no thirds all the way across, and just listen right before I go on to make sure. I'm at the point now, my tech, Michael, trusts implicitly, and he hands me guitars. I don't check the tuning at all. He just hands me the guitar, and I go right into the next song, and they're always good, man. And I love it because I love not looking at the tuner. I love not checking, but I really have to trust somebody to do that, because I love being in tune. I really do. So anyway, that's that story. So Axl was somehow singing ahead of the beat. How is that even possible? People do that. He does that. He did that with AC/DC, by the way. I loved the way, his voice was in top form, I thought, in 2016. And when he filled in for Brian, if you listen to him do a whole lot of Rosie, great. He does a really great job ahead of the beat. Just kind of how he sings. When I used to play with Courtney Love, recording, I would record her vocals and she'd always sing on top. Always sing on top. And sometimes I would scoot them. And, I'd go and move them 20 milliseconds to the left. And it was amazing because it was like this consistent on top. All you had to do is jog them a little bit. No tuning, none of that business. Just jog them over a little bit. Sounded super groovy. Right in the groove then. It was like consistently rushing a little bit, and then you just slide them over, and it just sounded like beautiful, locked. Number of tunes. I remember doing that often. Yeah. No singer sounds the way they did 40 years ago. Gotta hand it to Mick Jagger. Holy shit, that guy. Kinda. Like pretty much all there. Glenn Hughes, pretty great. You know, Paul Rogers sounds terrific. Lives 10 minutes from you, Paul, in Paul and Paul in BC. Spends part of his time there and part in Palm Springs, I do believe. I just have to check something here. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, never mind. Hang another few minutes here, guys, and then I'm going to split and just enjoy the best, or the best, and the rest of the day off. But this is enjoyable too. Not that I'm not enjoying my time here with you. I am. Voices get older. Absolutely, but that's why we have to appreciate bands like Classic Rock Show. They bring sound way back the way it should. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I love the way that the singers in the Classic Rock Show are able to kind of nail this stuff in the original keys and all that stuff and do it. If you want to see that, you can see it and come see this. You're either going for the OGs, or you're going for and the songs, or you're going mainly for the music and the celebration of the music. And in that case, you can come see Classic Rock Show, and we'll do a bang up job, and it'll all be original keys. Yeah. Yeah. What else have we got here? Let's see. Nuno and KK were slaying it. They were awesome. Yeah, they sounded good to me. I saw a little bit of that. Watched the opening of Sabbath. Thought they sounded amazing. I did too. I thought it was great. I thought Ozzy sounded great, and Zach and stuff really, really good. I mean, more than how it sounded, it was more about the event, having everybody there together and everything, more than the sort of critique of any kind of like even the performance or the sounds, or it's just we're just recognizing history, Yeah. What else are we got here? Let's see. I'm going to move down through the chat a little bit. Glad to hear the tour is going great. Saw you at Cambridge with CRS. That's always a fun place. Best attenuator, 2 Notes Reload 2. It's pretty great. The 2 Notes is fantastic. I mean, other contenders are the, of course, the Fryette and the Tone King Iron Man, which is a traditional attenuator design, whereas the Fryette is a reamp and the Reload is a reamp, load reamp. But they've all got their good things, but the Reload kind of does it all, and I'm very happy with it. So I've got some gigs with Fight for Fighting next month, and I think I'll be using it for those actually as a power amp, with stereo power amp with quad cortex for my main stuff. I'll do my usual quad cortex into stereo power and a couple of 112s for that little tour. I think it should be fun. We got some gigs. If you guys want to come see us, Colorado, we're playing in Oklahoma City, we're playing in Denver. I mentioned that already, or just outside Denver. Trying to remember where else, but I can't right now. But anyways, all the dates are on the with the band Vertical Horizon. Great guitar player Matt Scannell, of course. So if you want to come see us, we'll be out in August, and I'll be using that nice, compact and yet supremely powerful rig, quad cortex, but the 2 Notes for my power amp. I think I'm going to use. Yeah. I saw Guns N' Roses, says Asmund. 2 months made me emotional. Beginning of Jungle. And the last door during Heaven's Door sounded like his old self. That's cool. Yeah. Pete, is Glenn Hughes singing with the band? No, Marco sings the song that Glenn, I Want to Play My Guitar, that Glenn does on the recording. But Marco does it with us live, Marco Mendoza. and he's got his own take on it, and it's great. I think great. And Joe and I are singing background vocals on that as well. Yeah. Johnny says, thanks. You always seem to answer my questions. Oh, well, thanks for asking. Thanks for being here. Outdoor gigs always seem to be plagued with power issues. After a couple of incidences, I purchased a voltage regulator. Yeah, I mean, you've got kind of portable power going on, and there's always situations, but one of these days I'm going to get one of those Kikasui things and just bite the bullet. And it's supposed to be amazing. It just transforms anywhere you are in the world, and whether it's 50 hertz or 60 hertz to 60 hertz 120, if that's what your amps want to see. So yep. Yeah. All right, what else we got here? Let's see. Axel was way ahead though, like a full beat. I don't know why that would be. Not sure why. Maybe some monitoring issue. It's always down to in-ears and bullshit. Yeah. Weirdest gig I ever played was Mardi Gras floats. Something about being on a moving stage. Yeah, it does throw you off. You ever do a rotating stage like the what's it, Westbury Music Fair? Is that what it's called or whatever? And there's one in Cape Cod and one somewhere else in New York. I think it's on Long Island. And there's also the Phoenix Theater in Arizona and Phoenix. Sorry, Phoenix concert. It's in Phoenix and it's called I don't remember, but it's a small theater with a rotating stage, and when you go to step on a pedal, I find I'll pick up my foot and I'll land on the wrong pedal sometimes because just the momentum of the stage is just enough that by the time I've brought my foot down, I think I'm somewhere else. So I noticed that, as well as like it's weird when you're trying to find your tech or maybe the monitor guy and you've rotated and you forget you're rotating because they kind of go slow, the rotating stages, and you'll be like, where is he? Oh, he's over there now. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a bit bizarre. Kind of fun though. Yeah. I've heard that Sharon banned Dave Grohl and the Foos personally because they wanted to be paid. I don't know if that was the band. I did hear there was a band that they had a beef with about getting paid. Yeah. Is that a Fender Acoustic Sonic you're playing live? Yeah, I'm using Acoustic Sonic Jazzmaster on the song "If I Could Fly," and it's working out great. Very, very happy with it. That song just requires an acoustic guitar, and it really fits the bill. And then also, I'm sort of tasked with coming up with an electric sound halfway through. That's almost a blend of electric and acoustic, and it's perfect for that too. So to do that, the Acoustic Sonic has a bunch of different acoustic sort of profiles in it, like a double O, whatever, or dreadnought or whatever different. And then it's also got some sort of electric sounds where you can roll on the tone knob in a couple of the pickup position switch settings, and the tone knob blends in kind of a modeled amp sound. And, if you're taking a solo or something, it's kind of neat. So I'm using that. You can hear me do it in If I Could Fly. And I'm also adding in that part an amp simulator in the quad cortex. So I'm getting a bit of the mid-range and the electric-ish sound coming out of the guitar, and then I'm also piling an amp model on top of, in parallel with my DI acoustic sound, and that's all happening at the same time. Yeah, so I spent quite a bit of time on it trying to get it right, actually, and it seems to be translating. If you watch, you guys tell me. I don't know what if you watch videos of it, you let me know what you think. But that's part of the sound design, sonic, stuff is part of my gig. I feel like, and I love that stuff. So it's part of what I enjoy doing. So yeah. Huh. I wish Ozzy could have done the same show here in the States as well. I feel like we embraced him more than his home country. See me starting international music conflicts. I don't know. Black Sabbath and pretty Birmingham is, I got the wall there and the bridge, and it feels like pretty. And the music community, when you talk to people there, I've met people there because I know people from around there now through Classic Rock Show. And I've been to some of those haunts, the pubs that have been there forever and stuff, and it's pretty ingrained in the culture there, man. That sort of West Midlands metal, you know. I mean, for sure in the States, they're a worldwide phenomenon, Sabbath. I mean, more than probably Deep Purple, um, maybe as much as Led Zeppelin, you know. Just uh, definitely a world band, you know. But they've got a real love for him in Birmingham. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. What else? Just looking through the chat here. Paging down. The Celebrity Theater. That's the place I'm thinking of in Phoenix. Thanks. With the rotating stage. That's right. There's Joe with a couple questions. Have you ever played the JHS Morning Glory? And did you ever get into Breaking Bad? Oh, dude, Breaking Bad's amazing. Probably my favorite TV show that's ever. The arc of is it 5 seasons? The perfection of the arc of telling a story over 5 seasons is, you know, the way that they would foreshadow with the first episode of a season, you'd see something happen within the first 60 seconds. You'd be like, what the hell's that? And then in episode 8, you'd finally see what it was. And it was like, there was no phoning it in on the writing. And it's just like, well, here's the Breaking Bad story. Somebody had the whole concept of what's going to happen at the beginning. Here's what's going to happen at the end. And everywhere in the middle, we know what's going to happen. Now let's tell that story over 5 seasons. It was a wonderful thing. And Better Call Saul is great too. And it's similar. I mean, it starts out, you know, it fast forwards and keeps going back before and after Breaking Bad. Like literally, you know, the first scene you see in Better Call Saul is after the Breaking Bad story. And then they go after, you know, the opening sequence or whatever, you know, 3 minutes goes all the way back to the beginning of, you know, before. So it's incredible. I love that whole series, those 2 series. JHS Morning Glory, I think I did a video for it back in the day. Maybe. Hard to remember though. I want to say I had a gold one and made a video for Vintage King or something. When I used to do videos for them. So Nuno had a difficult job, and he may have been the guitarist that did the most tunes. Yeah, he did a very, very good job, I thought, playing the solos and stuff. Played a lot of the lead parts and killed it, you know? Yeah, really, really, really good from what I've seen. So, did it make the transformers in-house for Boutique Amp Design amps? No, I believe they do a lot with Haber. Haber's an American transformer manufacturer. We use them as well with Sir. They're wonderful. You know, there's a few different ones made in the States, but Haber does a brilliant job. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, Boutique Amp Designs might use some other ones, but I think it's mostly, if not all, Haber, I think. Yeah. My butt is sore after sitting in this chair. It's a nice looking chair, but it's not the most comfortable chair. I'll say that. So on that note, I think I'm going to hang for another 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to split you guys. Go do some other stuff that I got to do. What else we got here? Let's see. Better Call Saul's right there with Breaking Bad. 100%. Yeah. It's killer. It's great. Great. Just great TV. Coming back to the topic of acoustics, the tone of Flying Over Blue Dream was spot on, crystal clear. Which guitar? Thanks for asking, Pedro. It's my Godin nylon string, which Steve Stevens hooked me up with them many years ago. I got the guitar 2016. Haven't had a chance to use it enough or thank them enough for the hookup. And it's just, you know, I've got to tune it way down to an open tuning with I think the low string is all the way. It's C, I think, or C sharp. I can't remember, to be honest, because Mike tunes it for me every night. But you'd think I'd know that, right? But that's how much I've given it up. It's just like he hands me the guitar and I just play the part. But anyways, it's a testament to the quality of the guitar. Uh, it's a difficult part to play in a way because Joe's always like, oh, the person that has to play that always is saddled with this, because it's these great big bar chords, and you have to play all the way across all 6 strings, generally speaking, and at least all 5 strings, from the 5th string down, and hold these big chords and just sustain them, arpeggiate and then sustain, arpeggiate and sustain, and it does get sore on your hands. So you have to pace yourself and give yourself appropriate seconds to release for 2 beats and then start the part again, so that your hand doesn't burn out or cramp up. And I didn't think I'd have a problem with that, and then Joe mentioned it, and then I did it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's happening, because he's of course knows it's his song. And anyways, so Go Dan makes terrific nylon strings, and it stays in tune, and it intonates all, because I'm all the way up from the, I guess the 9th fret all the way down to the 2nd fret or open notes all the way across the neck, and it's just a really good. So I'm running that into the quad cortex, and I created a sound with some stereo imaging, bit of a doubling thing going on, a little bit of shimmer, reverb, some compression, stuff like that, to just kind of make it try and pop and do justice to the record tone. Love playing that song. Really fun. I saw Joe on that tour we were talking about. I saw him in my hometown, Flying in a Blue Dream, 1990. First time I'd ever seen anything like that. Really, like an instrumental guitarist with 4,000 people, coming out to see it at the Edmonton Convention Center was the venue. I remember, not the greatest music venue. Or maybe it wasn't the Convention Center. It was at Edmonton. What was it called? It was beside the Northlands Coliseum, if there's anybody out there. As a venue, and they used to hold some shows there. I think Yes 9012 Live was actually filmed there in Edmonton at this venue I'm talking about. But sort of an arena venue. Anyways, I remember seeing Joe there with Stu Ham, Jonathan Mover on drums, and pretty sure that was the band. And now I'm up there playing that tune, man. Love it. I love it. I was 19 then, 18 or 19. What else? What do you go to settings for rock and roll, SL 68 or 67 sound? On an SL 68 or 67, turn the mids up 3/4 of the way, bass on 4, treble on 5 or 6, presence vary it somewhere between 5 and 8, depending on how aggressive you want to get. It kind of opens up the top end, and the gain increases a little, sort of perceived. And then on the volume control, just plug right into input 1, the top left, and bring the volume up to about 7, and then vary the bright cap and use it or not. A little more gain, a little more teeth with the bright switched in. It's starting to get rolled out by that point anyway. The value of the bright cap is just irrelevant at some point. The louder you get that knob, once it's past 8, it doesn't really matter. But if it's on 7 or 6.5, you'll definitely hear it. It's that's how you balance the tightness versus the, if you want an aggressive sound and you want to keep it tight, turn on the bright cap and set the volume on 6 or 7. If you want just a full sound, you don't necessarily need it to be like as tight as possible, you can turn the bright off and bring the volume up to 7.5 or something. It'll just fill in the bass a little bit more, and it'll be thick, but it won't quite be as tight. But maybe that's fine if you're using single coils or something. So just depends. What picks are you using? I've got some custom Ultex. Sorry. Sats 5 band. Oh, I guess I didn't reverse my camera, so I got it backwards. But there you go. Sats 5 band. My signature on the other side. Ultex 73s for this tour. Dunlop. That's it. I put pickup rings on my Batwing SG to line up the pickups with the strings. Made a big difference. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Larry Mitchell uses those nylon string guitars. He plays it every Sunday night on his live stream. Sounds so good. Yeah, they're really good guitars. Godan makes great stuff. Steven says makes a great point. I brought this up on Instagram the other day. Slash sounds better than he did in the late '80s. I agree. I think Slash is playing better than ever. He was rehearsing a while ago, not too far from my studio, for his blues tour. He had a band they put together for blues album and stuff, and went out and did that. They rehearsed for like weeks, man. Like, and he would be in there going over stuff, going over stuff, going over stuff, all this over and over and over. And I got to hand it to him. I think he really works hard on his craft. He's not just people think of Slash as being kind of, I guess he has that persona outward, just kind of, rock, and whatever. Maybe, I guess it didn't help back in the day, like their whole partying, drinking, hard partying persona or whatever probably made people think, oh, they're just sort of like a sloppy rock band or whatever. But Slash, like, he's been sober forever, and he's quite articulate when you hear him talk, and he's a thoughtful guy, I think, and works hard at his craft, I think, and doesn't take things for granted. And, I did one gig with him, and at that gig, I remember doing a sound check, and we played a song, and it was fine. And then we played it one more time, and somebody had made a mistake going into the bridge or something. Not a terminal mistake, we came out of it. It was fine. We got to the end, and people were like, well, what'd you think? And I was ready for them to just go, it'll be fine on the show, because that's what a lot of people do. And somebody did say that. Somebody was like, it should be fine. It's all good. Slash was like, let's not get overconfident. Let's play it one more time. There you go. Always remember that. Made an impression on me. Okay. Is it all males at the shows with their arms folded? No. Not really. I mean, it's a lot of guitar playing dudes, but they're pretty passionate and in it and happy to have, it's especially when you get out to Eastern Europe, man, people are it's not as jaded as, there's parts of this world. It's a little like playing in Omaha or playing in, different places where, you're not in LA now or New York or whatever. You get out to Poland, and folks are stoked that you're there. When they walk on stage, they see Joe Satriani, Steve Vai. They're like, is it, we came into the airport the other day, and we were all walking out of customs together, and there was a security guy, airport security guy that was standing there, and he just lit up, and he said, is it really Sach and Vi here in Poland? I can't believe it, and he was just like so endearing, this guy, and standing there with this, he was one of the customs guys that checks you when you're coming out, and he was so excited. And I took his phone and took a picture of him with Joe and Steve, and I'm sure he's just like, going to blow that picture up and put it up on his wall. It's great, and he was so happy and just so like, I can't believe it, this is so cool. And he was really, really nice. So that was a nice moment. And that's the magic of music. Okay. 73s are perfect, says Paul. Yeah, I like 73s because you can play them on acoustic too, and they feel good. How can we get some of those picks? Well, I had them custom made for the tour. You guys are all cool. I know, maybe I'll get some more made, and I'll figure out one of these days how to get up a little store or something like that. Get them out there. They are pretty good. They're good picks. I mean, they're just good picks. Very, I find that value is a really good value for when you got a crossover between acoustic and electric. Yeah. All right, you guys. That kind of brings me to the I've sort of scrolled through to the end of the chat right now, and we've had about 200 online. That's not bad for the whole time. Been here an hour and 20. I think I'm going to split next week, because Monday is a day off. That'll probably be the day that I do this. So if I miss next Sunday, don't hate on me. I'll put up a watch page when I'm going to do it again, though, and I'll get it up one way or another. for next week. And all right, rock on out there. Thanks for hanging with me in my nice yellow chair here. And have a terrific week. Thanks for those of you that came to the shows and your nice comments and stuff. And if you're going to come see a show, I'll look forward to seeing you out there, and we'll talk more about this stuff next week. Rock on, rockers. Have a great week. Be nice to one another. All hail the power of music. Take care.